Breaking news ripples through the world as Princess Anne and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, unite in a stunning vote to strip Camilla of her royal duties, a move that could dethrone the Queen Consort and redefine the monarchy forever. What hidden grievances fueled this audacious alliance? This isn't mere family squabble, it's a seismic power play exposing cracks in the House of Windsor. Brace for the emotional turmoil and shocking secrets that could end an era, because when royals rebel, empires tremble. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The leak hit like a storm. Palace insiders spilling the explosive details in frantic bursts, whispers turning to roars as aides scrambled to plug the floodgates before the full story drowned the institution. Tension thickened in those initial hours, every hushed conversation laced with dread, the air heavy with the scramble to contain what could unravel centuries of tradition. No one saw it coming, this bold strike from within. Anne and Catherine casting their votes in a shadowed council that challenged the very heart of the crown. At its core pulsed the revelation, a secret ballot where Anne's unyielding hand joined Catherine's steady one, accusing Camilla of overstepping boundaries that blurred loyalty into raw ambition. The charges flew meddling in affairs beyond her grasp, eclipsing others in the spotlight, each one a test of where devotion ended and self-interest began. Triumphs Camilla had claimed now twisted into evidence against her. The vote not just a dismissal, but a calculated purge that questioned her place beside the king. Suspense built as memories flickered back to those undercurrents in the halls of power, subtle frictions where Camilla's decisions sparked quiet unease, alliances shifted, events orchestrated with a touch too firm, hints of controversy left dangling like unresolved threats. These weren't overt battles yet, but seeds of discord, each one foreshadowing the eruption that would force hidden truths into the light. Emotion gripped the players deeply. Anne's resolve shone like steel, forged from decades of quiet service, her love for the family clashing with the duty that demanded action, while Catherine's anguish simmered beneath a composed exterior, torn between affection for her father-in-law and the pull of justice. Familial bonds stretched thin, highs of unity giving way to lows of division, the weight pressing until something had to break. The globe reacted in a whirlwind, media outlets igniting with headlines that fueled frenzy, publics reeling in shock as loyalties splintered, some rallying behind Camilla's steadfast rise, others applauding the rebellion as a breath of fresh air. Divisions deepened, cheers clashing with outcries, turning a private vote into a worldwide spectacle that amplified every whisper. Conflict loomed largest for Charles, the king caught in the crossfire, his heart predicted to tear between the wife who stood by him through scandals and the kin now rising against her, foreshadowing nights of torment where personal joy battled royal stability. Then whispered the twist that escalated everything, a concealed dossier, pages outlining Camilla's supposed errors in judgment, from protocol breaches to influence peddling, a document that could seal her fate if unleashed. But to grasp the full force of this rebellion, we must unravel the tangled web of relationships that pitted Anne and Catherine against Camilla, a feud rooted in legacy, jealousy, and unspoken betrayals. Imagine a family where crowns conceal daggers, Princess Anne's no-nonsense grit clashing with Camilla's calculated charm, while Catherine navigates the shadows of expectation. What dark undercurrents turned allies into adversaries? This dive exposes the jealousies, slights, and power grabs that led to their fateful vote. Prepare for a heart-wrenching exploration of betrayal and ambition, because in the royal game, every smile hides a strategy, and this one could shatter the throne. From the very beginning, the fault lines ran deep. Anne had poured her life into the crown's quiet machinery, decades of relentless duty, no fanfare, no compromise, while Camilla entered the picture late, her arrival marked by scandal and a slow, deliberate climb to power. That contrast bred resentment before any words were spoken. Anne saw tradition eroded by someone who hadn't earned it the hard way. and Camilla viewed the Iron Princess as an immovable obstacle to her hard-won place. Small slights accumulated like frost on glass overlooked invitations, sidelined roles, each one chipping away at the fragile truce until the surface cracked. Then came the ghost that never left, Diana's memory. A silent accusation that hung over every interaction with Camilla. The pain of that long-ago betrayal lingered in the family like smoke, fueling Anne's protective instinct and quietly nourishing Catherine's growing unease. Whispers of old wounds resurfaced whenever Camilla stepped too close to the spotlight, reminding everyone that forgiveness had limits and trust remained fragile. The legacy became a weapon, wielded without speaking, sowing seeds of divergence that would one day bloom into open rebellion. Catherine's own trials sharpened the blade. After her illness, when every public appearance demanded strength she barely possessed, she felt the weight of Camilla's prominence like a shadow falling across her own light. The contrast stung while she fought to reclaim normalcy. Camilla moved with effortless authority, her presence amplified by proximity to the king. Private moments of despair followed. Tears shed in solitude as Catherine wrestled with feelings she dared not voice aloud. That suffering hardened into resolve, planting the first roots of alliance with Anne, who understood what it meant to be overshadowed, yet still carry the burden. Conflict simmered beneath polished surfaces. Public events became stages for veiled slights. Camilla's hand on a cherished cause, her voice steering conversations Anne once led, her influence quietly reshaping family decisions. What looked like harmony to outsiders masked private humiliations, each one deepening the rift. Anne's patience frayed first, her blunt nature refusing to swallow the erosion of protocol she had defended her entire life. Insider accounts later leaked the truth of those explosive exchanges, Anne confronting Camilla head-on, voice low and lethal, accusing her of chipping away at sacred traditions for personal gain. Words flew like sparks, undermining, overreaching, disrespect, each accusation landing harder than the last. Camilla's calm responses only fueled the fire, her composure read as arrogance, her defenses as denial. The room crackled with unspoken threats, the air thick with the promise of consequences. The media seized every fracture, magnifying private pain into public spectacle. Headlines twisted quiet tensions into scandals, paparazzi capturing fleeting glances that became evidence of war. What began as family discord grew into a national drama, feeding the cycle of resentment and ensuring no wound could heal in silence. Yet beneath the noise, something bolder stirred, hints of a secret understanding between Anne and Catherine. Born from late-night conversations and shared glances of frustration, a pact forming in the shadows, unspoken but unbreakable, setting the course for the vote that would soon erupt. As these rivalries festered, the stage was set for a covert gathering that would change everything, a meeting where Anne and Catherine sealed their alliance against Camilla. Deep in the heart of Windsor, under cover of night, Anne and Catherine convene a forbidden vote to oust Camilla, a clandestine act that echoes through history's halls. What words were exchanged in that fateful room? This expose uncovers the raw deliberations, revealing a Queen Consort's downfall, plotted by her own kin. Get ready for shocking confessions and strategic maneuvers, because when princesses plot, the crown quakes and no secret stays buried forever. The assembly unfolded in secrecy, shadows cloaking the urgency as Anne and Catherine gathered evidence like weapons documents, whispers from aides, tales of overreach that symbolized a radical departure from the monarchy's sacred norms. Discussions crackled with intensity, each piece laid out methodically, challenging the traditions that had long bound them. No longer content with silent endurance, they forged ahead, the air thick with the thrill of rebellion and the dread of what it might unleash upon the family they both cherished. Suspense mounted with Anne's forceful pleas, her voice steady as she dissected Camilla's unfit influence, subtle manipulations in council. Decisions that favoured personal agendas over collective good, each point hinting at scandals lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to erupt. She paused deliberately, letting the implications hang, building a tension that made every breath feel like a countdown to catastrophe. Catherine's emotions spilled over in that charged space, tears tracing paths of conflict as she weighed her deep respect for Charles against the burning need for fairness within the fold. Her voice trembled, raw with the highs of solidarity with Anne and the lows of potential betrayal, a woman torn between the warmth of kinship and the cold demand for accountability. The immersion hit hard, her anguish mirroring the family's broader fractures, triumphs of unity clashing against the suffering of division. Debate ignited fiercely over the vote's very foundation, arguments clashing like storms against ancient walls. Could such a move even stand under royal edicts? Or would it invite chaos that dismantled the protocols they sought to protect? Voices rose and fell, each side pulling at the threads of loyalty, amplifying the peril of stepping outside the lines drawn by generations. Secrets deepened the intrigue, Anne invoking echoes of bygone consort dramas, figures who had risen only to fall, their controversies scarring the throne and serving as stark warnings against repetition. The parallels chilled the room, layering the present with historical ghosts, reminding them that one misstep could echo eternally through the lineage. Anne's own storm raged inwardly, her love for her brother a bond forged in shared trials warring with her terror for the monarchy's essence, the institution she had defended through every personal sacrifice. The turmoil twisted inside her, affection versus apprehension, each heartbeat a reminder of the stakes. Finally, with resolve hardening, they sealed a pact in writing, entrusting its execution to trusted confidants who vowed silence until the opportune strike a twist that promised discretion but dangled the threat of betrayal if loyalties wavered. Empowered by their united front, Anne's unyielding spirit takes center stage, revealing the personal vendettas that drove her to spearhead this dramatic ouster. Princess Anne, the monarchy's unsung warrior, emerges as the architect of Camilla's potential exile. What buried grudges propelled her to rally against the Queen Consort? Dive into her indomitable will, forged in decades of service, now weaponized in a vote that could redefine power. This raw portrait uncovers jealousy, loyalty, and raw ambition. Prepare for a soul-stirring tale where one woman's resolve risks it all. Because when Anne acts, history bends. Isolation wrapped around Anne like a familiar cloak in those solitary hours, her mind drifting back through decades of relentless duty performed in the background while others claimed the light. She had never sought applause. Yet the quiet, overshadowed existence gnawed deeper with every passing year, always the reliable one. The unflinching soldier, never the center. That steady sacrifice now clashed violently with the pull of family bonds, leaving her torn between the brother she loved fiercely and the crown she had sworn to defend at any cost. Triumph in endurance felt hollow against the suffering of watching tradition erode under someone else's influence. Suspense tightened as memories surged, unbidden, Camilla's gradual ascent replaying in sharp fragments, each step forward a subtle displacement that Anne felt in her bones. The later rival who became Queen Consort, the calculated grace that masked ambition, the way doors opened wider for her than they ever had for the lifelong servant. Those images amplified the ache of being sidelined, turning quiet observation into a slow, burning resentment that refused to fade. Every recalled moment built the tension, hinting at a breaking point long overdue. Emotion crested in private confessions to the few aides she trusted implicitly, her voice cracking as doubt flooded in. Had she waited too long, allowed too much? She spoke of the weight crushing her chest, the fear that inaction would doom the monarchy she lived for, yet action might shatter the family she still held dear. Those raw exchanges revealed a woman at war with herself, determination surging against waves of hesitation, each confession a small release that only fueled her growing fire. The highs of clarity battled the lows of guilt, leaving her more resolute with every tear shed in secret. The internal storm raged fiercer, still debates echoing endlessly in her mind. Betray Charles by striking at his wife, or betray the institution by staying silent while it weakened. Loyalty to her brother pulled one way, fierce protection of the crown the other, the conflict tearing at her core until sleep became impossible. She paced through sleepless nights, weighing every consequence, the agony of choice sharpening her edge rather than dulling it. Then secrets long buried rose to the surface, hidden resentments from years of perceived favoritism. Camilla's quiet advantages in access and influence that Anne had swallowed without complaint. Those layers peeled back to reveal motives deeper than duty alone, a sense of justice denied, a legacy threatened. Each revelation adding fuel to the blaze she could no longer contain. Her own legacy pressed down hardest amid the royal transitions unfolding around her, pressure to act boldly before time slipped away. Before the crown she had guarded so faithfully slipped into hands she no longer trusted. The context forced her hand, success in past restraint now demanding radical courage, suffering transformed into purpose. In the dead of night, a vivid dream shattered the tension, the queen appearing with quiet approval, her gaze steady, urging forward motion that felt like divine sanction. The vision jolted Anne awake, heart pounding, the final push toward open confrontation sealed in that haunting moment. Yet Anne's fire found an unlikely ally in Catherine, whose own battles with the spotlight fueled her decision to join the vote, demanding we explore the princess's hidden anguish. Catherine, the picture of grace, shatters her serene facade by voting to end Camilla's reign. What personal torments turned the future queen into a revolutionary? This section peels back her polished exterior, exposing heartache, resilience, and bold choices. Brace for an unflinching look at her inner turmoil, where duty collides with desire for change, because when Catherine rises, the monarchy's future hangs in the balance, teetering on the edge of transformation or tragedy. The struggle consumed her from within, a delicate balance teetering as she juggled the joys of motherhood, nurturing her children through everyday triumphs, and the grueling path of recovery that left her vulnerable, all while Camilla's commanding presence loomed larger, dominating decisions that once felt shared. Success in reclaiming her health clashed with the suffering of watching another woman eclipse her role, each public smile hiding a private ache that grew sharper with time. Duty pulled her one way, the instinct to protect her family's harmony another, forging a quiet rebellion that simmered unseen. Uncertainty wrapped around her like a fog, rumors swirling of palace imbalances she had long suspected, unequal shares of influence, favoritism tilting toward Camilla that built an unbearable tension leading up to her decisive vote. Did she know the full extent, or were these whispers enough to ignite doubt? The ambiguity heightened the suspense, every overheard conversation a potential spark, foreshadowing a moment when hesitation would give way to action that could redefine everything. Emotion plunged deeper in fleeting recollections of warmth with Anne's supportive exchanges during her darkest days. Kind words that cut through isolation, standing in stark contrast to Camilla's distant demeanor, perceived as cold and calculating. Those bonds with Anne offered fleeting highs of solidarity, yet they amplified the lows of feeling marginalized, tears flowing in solitude as Catherine confronted the betrayal of a system that rewarded endurance with erasure. Her clash with the entrenched order intensified, the vote emerging as a beacon of freedom from hierarchies that stifled her voice and constrained her vision. No longer willing to bow to unspoken rules, she saw this as liberation, a bold strike against the invisible chains binding her to secondary status. The conflict roared inside, uphold the facade for peace or shatter it for authenticity. Triumph in poise now demanded defiance, suffering transformed into a catalyst for upheaval. Secrets spilled from hidden pages, her private writings revealing raw fears for her children's path, worries that Camilla's shadow might dim their futures, imposing patterns of favoritism that echoed her own pains. These confessions added haunting depth, exposing a mother driven by protective instinct, each entry a testament to vulnerabilities she guarded fiercely. William's subtle guidance layered the complexity, his encouragement bolstering her courage yet tangling the web with added stakes, his own position at risk, his love a steady force that complicated every step. Empowerment from him clashed with the potential fallout, turning her resolve into a double-edged sword. Then the twist struck like lightning. A conversation leaked. Words meant for privacy reaching Camilla's ears, jolting Catherine into unshakable determination as the confrontation loomed inevitable. With the vote cast, Camilla's world crumbles, leading us to uncover her desperate countermeasures in the face of this unprecedented betrayal. As the vote's blade falls, Camilla rallies her defenses in a whirlwind of fury and cunning. What countermeasures will the embattled consort unleash? This pivotal chapter recreates her heart-pounding response, laced with desperation and strategy. Feel the shockwaves as alliances fracture, because this isn't surrender, it's a fierce retaliation promising twists that could salvage her throne or doom it eternally. The betrayal landed like a thunderclap, Camilla's voice quivering as she faced the stark reality, quoting shaken allies who insisted it couldn't be true. They wouldn't dare cross us now, not after everything. Each denial a fragile shield against the onslaught. Her initial shock gave way to a calculated calm, the woman who had navigated scandals before now channeling that survival instinct into a rapid-fire assessment of the damage. Triumphs from her long ascent, years of proving her worth beside Charles, now twisted into bitter fuel. Suffering amplified by the sting of kin turning against her in the shadows she thought secure. Suspense crested in those urgent strategy huddles, pauses stretching taut as she weighed options, silence broken only by her deliberate breaths, building an electric anticipation for the strikes to come. Would she appeal directly to Charles, or rally external forces? Each hesitation ratcheted the tension, hinting at moves that could reverse the tide or invite total war, the air alive with the promise of unforeseen escalations. Emotion surged through her circle, supporters' sharp intakes of breath echoing her own exposed fragility as isolation closed in. A Queen Consort suddenly adrift amid the very family she had fought to join. Their reactions mirrored her inner quake, gasps of disbelief blending with vows of allegiance, highs of past loyalties clashing against the lows of current abandonment, pulling everyone into the vortex of a woman stripped bare yet refusing to yield. Conflict detonated in bold confrontations, Camilla issuing veiled demands to Anne and Catherine through intermediaries. Loyalty must triumph over naked ambition, or face the consequences of fracturing the crown they all claimed to serve. The challenges rang out like battle cries, pitting her defensive fury against their rebellious zeal. Each word a spark that threatened to ignite the palace into open feud. Success in her poised reign now demanded ruthless pushback, the agony of division sharpening her every retort. Deeper secrets surfaced amid the chaos, hidden resources she could summon like Charles's unshakable backing, a bond forged in fire that might sway the balance, or discrete networks of influence built over decades. These assets deepened the intrigue, transforming her from victim to formidable counterplayer, each leverage point a layer that promised reversal if played right. Broader turmoil intertwined seamlessly, the upheaval linking to sweeping crises, shifts in how the public viewed the monarchy, whispers of declining favour that Camilla aimed to flip through savvy manoeuvring. The context swelled the stakes, personal betrayal bleeding into institutional peril, where one miscalculation could cascade into irreparable harm. In a cliffhanger that left pulses racing, Camilla hinted at her readiness for ultimate concession, a personal offering, perhaps stepping back in ways that preserve dignity while reclaiming ground if it meant quelling the storm. A twist dangling like a lure amid the fray. Media confederates stirred in the wings, poised to unleash a backlash that would reshape narratives and rally defenders, foreshadowing a wave of scrutiny set to engulf the rebels. As Camilla's counter-offensive brews, the monarchy braces for impact ripples that could heal old wounds or plunge it into deeper turmoil. With the vote echoing, the House of Windsor faces its gravest crisis. What if this rebellion sparks the end of monarchy as we know it? This section delves into the chaotic aftermath, from intrigue to uproar. Dive into strategies and speculations where every decision could crown survivors or banish legends. The throne wavers like never before, gear up for truths that challenge royalty's endurance. Panic seized the aides in a frenzy of hushed calls and scrambled plans, their loyalty fracturing as they raced to gauge the fallout, while Charles brooded in seething silence, his anger a quiet volcano ready to erupt, betrayed by the very blood he trusted most. The king's composure masked a torrent of pain, triumphs of his reign now overshadowed by this intimate wound, suffering etched into every unspoken word as he weighed defending his wife against preserving the fragile unity of his house. Suspense thickened around the possible endings if Camilla tumbled from grace. Who would fill the void? A power gap yawning wide enough to swallow ambitious outsiders or fracture the line of succession itself. Speculations swirled relentlessly. A humbled consort retreating could restore fragile peace, or her defiance might drag the family into open warfare, each scenario dangling like a noose, foreshadowing upheavals that could redefine allegiances overnight. Hearts swayed wildly among the masses, loyalties splintering as some clung to Camilla's story of redemption, a rise from controversy to consort, while others cheered Anne and Catherine as champions of renewal, the emotional pull tearing communities apart. Empathy shifted like tides, highs of admiration for the rebels clashing with lows of sympathy for the besieged, drawing everyone into the raw immersion of a dynasty's unraveling, where personal stories mirrored broader divides. Norms buckled under relentless assault, modern cries for transparency and equality slamming against the unyielding walls of age-old customs that had long shielded the crown from scrutiny. The conflict roared cling to rituals that ensured stability, or embrace change that risked everything. Success in tradition's endurance now wrestled with the agony of irrelevance, each demand a spark threatening to ignite total reform or bitter backlash. From the shadows, covert champions for the vote began to surface, discreet figures in the extended circle, their backing adding layers of intrigue as they whispered support, tipping the scales in ways that could embolden the uprising or expose hidden fractures. These secret alliances deepened the mystery, painting a web of motivations where nothing was as it seemed, each revelation a step closer to total exposure. History whispered warnings through parallels that chilled the bone echoes of past expulsions, like consorts banished in disgrace or heirs sidelined amid scandal. Lessons from eras when one ouster reshaped empires and left scars that lingered for generations. The connections wove the present peril tighter, blending yesterday's ghosts with today's storm, underscoring how this moment could repeat those fateful cycles with devastating force. Then twisted the unforeseen murmurs of interventions from overlooked kin, perhaps a cousin or distant relative poised to mediate or manipulate, their entry hinted at in cryptic exchanges that promised to alter the game entirely. Yet in the chaos, faint hopes flicker, guiding us to envision the paths ahead in this epic of shattered legacies and possible renewal. As the dust settles on this royal revolt, what futures await Anne, Catherine, Camilla, and the crown? This finale sketches routes to reconciliation or utter downfall, vividly capturing redemption's thin line. Sense the throb of opportunity as we dissect the Queen's legacy at play. Will unity triumph, or will this vote cement everlasting rifts? Hold on for a stirring close that probes it all. A fragile possibility begins to emerge from the wreckage, one where Camilla, sensing the tide turning against her, chooses graceful retreat, stepping back from certain duties to allow breathing room for the family she once hoped to fully join. Public reunions could follow, carefully staged moments of restored harmony, Anne and Catherine standing beside a chastened consort, Charles at the centre, the image radiating cautious healing. Triumph would pulse through those scenes, decades of tension easing into tentative peace, the monarchy proving it can bend without breaking. Yet the path remains razor-thin, shadowed by the risk that pride or pain could derail it at any moment. Uncertainty coils around every forward step. Failure lurks close if Camilla resists, if Anne hardens further. If Catherine wavers under pressure, the fracture could harden into something permanent. A schism etched so deep that future generations inherit only bitterness. Suspense lingers in the silence between statements, the unspoken pauses that hint at negotiations still unfolding behind closed doors. One misspoken word, one withheld apology, and the chance for mending vanishes, leaving only the suffering of eternal division where once there was shared purpose. The Queen's influence hovers like a quiet, enduring presence, her memory threading through every potential outcome. Her steady hand, her lifelong balancing of heart and duty, now serves as both mirror and guide, reflecting back the cost of division while offering a blueprint for grace under strain. Emotional echoes of her wisdom bring a bittersweet closure, gratitude for the stability she built, sorrow for how far the family has drifted from it. Her legacy becomes the emotional anchor, reminding everyone that love and loyalty can outlast even the fiercest storms. Resolution remains tantalizingly out of reach, with Anne and Catherine emerging as reluctant mediators in their own right. Anne's blunt honesty, tempered by Catherine's quiet diplomacy, together attempting to bridge what they helped widen. Their role carries heavy irony, the architects of upheaval now tasked with reconstruction, their own consciences tested as they seek paths that honor both justice and kinship. The conflict softens here, not fully dissolved but reshaped into something more constructive, a slow climb toward understanding. Beneath the public rhetoric, hidden aspirations stir subtle olive branches extended in private messages, tentative gestures suggesting willingness to rebuild on new terms. These whispers fuel quiet hope, small victories against the weight of resentment, each one a reminder that even the proudest hearts can soften when the cost of continued war becomes unbearable. The monarchy's broader image stands at a crossroads, poised for profound transformation. A genuine reconciliation could breathe fresh legitimacy into the institution, proof of adaptability, of humanity beneath the crowns, while prolonged strife might accelerate calls for change or quiet erosion of public faith. Success and suffering entwine once more, the throne's survival hinging on whether it can evolve through crisis or crumble beneath it. Then comes the ultimate twist that leaves the air charged. Word surfaces of Charles preparing a decisive intervention, a final statement or private summit that could either bind the wounds or deliver an irreversible verdict. The king's response still hanging in the balance, electric with possibility. Though our tale pauses here, the royal saga presses on, beckoning us to watch the unfolding drama of authority, agony, and aspiration. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.